Toguro versus Meruem, or Meruem versus Toguro. You know how these Crossoverses work, right? We're going to start in the Hunter x Hunter world for scenario 1, and then for scenario 2, we're going to go into the Yu Yu Hakusho world. So, in the Hunter x Hunter world, we have it set where basically where Netero and Meruem fought. That's where, we're going to replace Netero with Toguro. And he's going to fight against Meruem. And we know about Toguro, if you were a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, it was the earlier work of Togashi, right? We know that he's a upper B class apparition. Basically he's the most powerful B class apparition in the series. As I like to state, stated in the anime and in the manga too, right? This guy was pretty damn powerful. Now he, country level threat, much like Meruem. But I think his power is just slightly, because these characters are just more powerful in general than these other characters. These beings can destroy the world and shit in Yu Yu Hakusho, like the higher end characters, and he's like the lowest of the higher end, or like one of the lower of the higher end. Toguro is, and then Meruem's like the highest, or like basically kind of like the peak of Hunter x Hunter, as far as abilities go there. And he's not weak in that verse, but this is a character from another world. An upper B class apparition. So I'm gonna tell you how that fight goes. You ain't gonna like what Green Endo says if you're a Hunter x Hunter fan, but I don't care because this is, my take. But if you, watch this video, you can let me know in the comments what you think about it. So in scenario 1, the Hunter x Hunter scenario, right? So they're in the Hunter x Hunter world, and we replaced Netero with Toguro to fight against Meruem. And now they're at full power and shit, right? No holding back. Toguro has the strength. We know that when he powered up to his fullest, he was like strong as fuck. Like even before he got to that, form, he carried the ring to the stadium, like the area they're supposed to be fighting on. He carried it, lifted it up, and carried it there to the new fighting spot. Meruem's not doing that. But I did give Meruem the speed. Because, how big Toguro is. And he's still fast, too. Don't get it fucked up. But he's not as fast as Meruem, because Meruem, he's just a quicker, more agile character, right? So I give the speed to Meruem. Durability, I give it to Toguro, though. All that muscle and extra muscle. He wished for that when he became a demon. And he was around, and Toguro was around for a long time. He wasn't just, granted those powers, and then he wasn't there. He was there. And he tanked some, devastating attacks. He took a spirit gun from Yusuke, which, honestly, I don't think Meruem's tanking any, spirit guns like that. Yusuke spirit guns at full power, he's taking more damage. If you've watched both series, you got to comment on this video. You've watched both Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. Endurance goes to Toguro too. I wouldn't say these characters are known to fight for days or anything. And even Toguro has to shrink down to his regular size and not use his full power and shit when he fights against characters in this series, except when he was fighting against Yusuke in his final battle, right? And then when Meruem was fighting against Netero, that was his hardest. Those were their hardest fight. And Meruem basically died. But I'll get to that in this video too. But I did give the endurance to Toguro. Intelligence, I gave it to Meruem. Togoro's simple, strength rules, I'll body you, get by you, you can't beat me. I strike fear into the hearts of other demons. These demons in the dark tournament were fucking scared of Toguro. When he pulled up, he was like, let me speak. And then they were like, oh shit, that's Toguro. That's the big guy. He's the guy who's gonna go against the champions. Basically, they already had them as the basically winners of the tournament. They were just waiting for it to see what your mesh was gonna do. But Meruem was like more calculated and shit. He was like, see, Meruem was planning on taking over a whole world. Toguro wasn't doing shit like that. He was purely there to fight against Yusuke. Nothing else. Meruem was like, we have these squadron leaders do this, these ones do this. These squadron leaders ain't listening to us. We're gonna have to like make sure they fall in line and shit. We'll have these humans as we'll have a feeding ground here and everything else, and he like made plans with his royal guard members, and that's going to come into play later in these when I'm talking about these attributes. But I give intelligence to Meruem, but Toguro definitely gets experience because Meruem, we know he was born from his mother and he came out of his mother as an adult, but like we understand if we watch Yu Yu Hakusho, Togoro's been a demon for a long time and like undisputed in like the like known demons that are in human world. Now he didn't go to like demon world and fuck with the demons there, but he was a human turned demon that stayed in human world and people feared him for like 50 years. So he has more experience than Meruem does. Close skills, Toguro. Like that's how he likes to handle business, up close and personal. Smashing things, punching things, kicking shit. And he even has like range skills too. Like range skills, I was like, should I give it to Meruem or should I give it to Toguro? And I'm like Toguro because I remember when he was fighting Yusuke, he's shooting like wind. He's flicking his finger and he's shooting like wind bullets at Yusuke. You know, I think he did shoot a rock at him and broke his arm too. But he has like that as a means of range skills. I know Meruem has his tail, and that I consider that a range skill, but it ain't doing shit to Toguro. But recoup, I got Meruem, and it's only in the Hunterverse because in the Hunterverse they're connected to their king. Poof and Neferpito and the other guy could Yuppie could go and heal him like they did. When he fought against Netero, he was almost dead. And then they were like, no, we need to bring you back, and they brought him back. Hacks go to Toguro. He can keep getting, he has a 40% form, 50% form, all the way up to 100%. Honestly, I don't even know if he'll need 100% against Meruem, but he'll probably, go to 100% just to get the job done, I think. And this guy is, still here after all this, maybe I should go. He'll probably go to 80%. Not to that form where he was shooting out the phantoms and shit. He won't go that far. Not in my mind. And then the environment also goes to Meruem. But even so, with all that being said, that's 7 to 4. 7 attributes towards Toguro and then 4 towards Meruem. But even so, it's a mid-diff fight. Mid to high diff. But, I'm still giving it mid-diff. Personally. But you could say high diff if you wanted to. Towards Togoro's win. Now in the Yu Yu Hakusho world, things change a little bit. It's not the Hunter x Hunter world. It's more like the real world a little bit, but then there's demons, and it's not monsters, And these demons cross over from a demon world and other things, right? And Toguro is aware of that, but he's, we're fighting in the dark tournament arena, and we replace, Yusuke with Meruem. In that situation, they fight against each other. So strength goes to Toguro. Toguro gets the strength again. I already told you he carried the ring of the stadium, where the place where they fight on, the stand where they fucking stand on business. he brought the platform that they stand on to the tournament, the to the you know. But then his speed still goes to Meruem. Yeah, I'll give Meruem the speed. You know, I do think the Yu Yu Hakusho characters are faster, but I'll give it to Meruem because I do understand that when Toguro goes into his higher states, he gets more muscle, and that does slow him down. And and Toguro is also not known to be like a fast character. Like when you ask about a fast character in Yu Yu Hakusho, I'm not telling you Toguro. I'm telling you other characters like Hiei and Yusuke and like some other like in Rising, not him. Durability though, I got Toguro winning that category again. The size thing, and he just like tanks these spirit gun attacks from Yusuke. Except that last one. But it took like a couple of them, right? Endurance goes to Toguro again. I just believe he can stay in the fight longer. Especially when, and I'll get to that point. But I'll talk about that later on. Intelligence goes to Meruem. He's still, a smart life form, chimera in it, right? He'd probably be like, he still has the same mindset, I'll defeat this person, and once I defeat this person, then they will fear me and they'll fall in line with me. Because like in his mind, he's like, these people fear that guy Toguro, but if I kill Toguro, they'll fear me. And like that's how I'm thinking Meruem's thinking during this fight. And then he's like, I can get these demons to like he calls to me and like take over like that. Because he has a king's mindset and shit. That's still present within Meruem and shit, right? So and experience goes to Toguro though. Like I said before, he's been around for a long time, and he was a martial arts trainer before that. I didn't say that, but he was, he ran a dojo with Genkai, to like fight against demons before him himself became a demon. But close skills go to Toguro as well. Like I just said, martial arts background, boxer, all that shit, right? Range skills go to Toguro. Like I said before, he's shooting rocks, shooting, compressed air at Yusuke. Recoup goes to Toguro. Now because Meruem doesn't have that there for him. He doesn't have the Royal Guards now. See, that's an outside resource, remember? And they ain't here. It's just Meruem coming into the Yu Yu Hakusho, dark tournament. Nobody's with him or anything like that. So he's basically, screwed. But and that's his recoup. The recoup goes to Toguro there. Hacks go to Toguro as well. And then environment goes to Toguro too because he's from that world and he understands the dark tournament rules and been there before, been there, done that. That type of situation. So in this situation, it's like definitely mid diff, and you could even make arguments for like low diff if you wanted to, because Meruem doesn't have that avenue of having his friends there to his royal guards there to recoup him if they need to. But overall, I'd say Toguro wins either scenario, and like mid diff for sure. I like to say that. But be cool, Call in the Corner. Let me know what you think about that fight in the comment section.